Hello guys, welcome to my channel DevOps Corner. In this video, I will be talking about Docker Compose and deploying a 3-tier application using Docker Compose. It is absolutely designed for beginners and intermediate level on Docker technology. So here is what we will see. What is Docker Compose and in which context it is used? Building and deploying a 3-tier application with Docker Compose. If you are interested in more DevOps videos, do not hesitate to check my channel and do not forget to like and subscribe if you want to get notification on new videos. So guys, let's dive in. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel DevOps Corner. So I'm now going to talk about working with Docker Compose. So in our previous demo, we saw actually how you can build our custom Docker image. So we have built our Docker image, Python Docker image, a simple Python Docker image, and we were able to run this container, and everything was great. So let's now switch to the demo number 7, which is the latest actually. This will be the last demo in this series of Docker wraps. So I hope also that you will enjoy this. Okay, thank you. So what is Docker Compose and why we should use Docker Compose? In which context we should use Docker Compose? So first of all, Docker Compose is a tool which helps actually to manage a multi-application container. So an application which runs multiple containers. So you can see this example. We will be building actually an application like this, my app, which is made of 3 components. The first component which will be the database, and the other component will be the front end. So the front end part of our application. Then we have the middleware, which is the backend, actually which we implement the logic part of our application. I mean the API and so on and so forth. So there is also another file you can see how it's called Docker Compose YAML file. So this will be the application which will define, I mean, all our application configuration and also the dependencies for our application. And so you have time to see this. So let me switch fast to the official documentation actually of Docker Compose, and we can see what really it means. So as you can see, Docker Compose is a tool for defining and running multi-container applications. So if you want to define an application made of multiple containers and you want to run this application, then Docker Compose is your best choice. I mean, when you are really working with Docker, because you have also some orchestrators, which maybe I will talk about in the next, video, like Kubernetes and so on. But when you are using Docker, simply Docker, then if you need to run a multi-container application, instead of running each container independently, then you can define the application using Docker Compose and then run the entire application using also Docker Compose. So as you can see, Docker Compose will simplify the the control on your entire application stack, and it will be it will be easier to manage services, network, and volumes in a single YAML file. So here you have really a single YAML file, which will define your entire application stack, and you will manage the life cycle of your application using this file. So you can start the entire application with one command. By running one command, you can stop your entire application using this one command, and also check the running services. So this is perfect. So guys, let's now switch to my server, and then let's start implementing this. Okay, perfect. So first of all, we'll start by checking if Docker Compose is installed on my system. So guys, you have to know that if you are using Docker for desktop on your laptop, then Docker Compose is already included. So you have to do nothing. So you have already Docker Compose. Yes, so that's it. You have already Docker Compose. So what am I going to do now? Let me check in my system if Docker Compose is there. So I will run Docker Compose version to check the version. So as you can see, no such file or directory. So it seems I don't have Docker Compose. You can see this. So now let me install this. So I will install this using the apt actually command for which is used for Debian. So apt install docker compose. Okay, let's run this command. Okay, perfect. So now let me see if docker compose is now present. Okay, perfect. So I have docker compose now, which is deployed now to my system. So I can now start working with um, Docker Compose. That's perfect. So guys, now we are going to build our application. So as you can see, I have no running container, and I have no image on my system. So no image, no running container. So we really do the demo from scratch. Perfect. So let me show you the structure of our application, which we need actually to define with Docker Compose. So you can see here, this is really our application, as you can see. So we'll try to create this folder, my app, and inside this app we define our components. As you can see, we have three components: database, frontend, middleware. And this is what is known as a three-tier application. So a three-tier application is really an application like this, which is made by multiple components. And we are going to define this with Docker Compose, and we will run this with Docker Compose. So keep in mind this structure, this application structure. So thank you. Let's switch back to my terminal. Okay, perfect. So let me now start by creating the structure. It's important to know this structure. Okay, so I will create first of all um, my app folder. Okay, perfect. So I have my app folder, which is here. And then inside my app folder, I will create now three components. I will create front end. I will create middleware, which is the backend, our backend component. I will create database, which will be running our database. So this will be, I will use PostgreSQL database. Okay, so now that's fine now. So we have now how I'm gonna say, you have our structure now, as you can see. So we now let's go to every component now and define our application, our container application. So let's start by the front end. So in the front end, so we use an Nginx web application. So our application will be running Nginx. So what we need to do, first of all, as we saw in the previous demo, if you want to build a container application, I mean an image for our application, so we need to define a file called docker file. So a docker file. So let me create the docker file inside a docker file for our front end application. Okay. Sorry, it's not a directory. It is a file. So let me remove this. So it's not a folder, but a file. So I will directly open this Docker file and I will actually insert what we should do. So what we should do is, first of all, we will, build our image. And the first command is to precise which base image will be used actually to build our image. So we use Nginx official image as our base image for our application. And then we actually copy our customized index file to override the default index HTML file. So we just do a simple stuff. So we don't need this demo to do complex operation, but you understand when you are building a production-ready application, you may do a lot of step here. But in our case, I will just copy an index file which I have customized to go and override the default index HTML file. So no, this is okay now. So I have everything needed for my Docker file. Let's do this. Yes. So we have Docker file now. Then I have to create this index HTML file. So I will create an index HTML file, which will be actually override the default HTML file. So let me HTML create this. And then inside, let me create a simple h1 h1 tag, and let me call this hey. Sorry, let's work with Docker Compose. Okay, perfect. So I have my customized index HTML file. Perfect. So we keep this simple. Okay, so let me save this. Perfect. So in our front end, we have a Docker file, and we have our index HTML file, which override actually the default index file for Nginx. Perfect. So we have everything needed now for our front end. So we have everything. So now let's switch to the middleware. So middleware will be our backend. So our backend will be a Python application, which we run. We use Flask to, the Python framework, which is called Flask, to actually to run our backend. So let's now start by the Docker file. Yeah. So create a Docker file. So let's create a Docker file for our backend image. So in our backend image, this is what we do. So as you can see, we use as base image Python 3.9 Docker image, which is available on Docker app. So we pull this image as our base image, and then we add additional configuration for our app. We define the work deal, and then we copy the requirements text. So you remember the requirement text, which is a file containing all dependencies for our application. So in this file, we have Flask module, Python module as our dependency. And then we will run this command pip install actually to install this dependency of our application before running our application. So then we copy other components, other remaining components to our work deal folder. And then after, this is the CMD is the command which is used to start our application. So that's perfect. So everything's okay. So now this application.python will be copied actually in this step. This step we copy this our source code, and then we also put our source code inside the work deal. Okay, perfect. So the Docker file is ready. Let's now create. So let's start by our application, our source code. Okay, so here's our source code. So this will be app.python, and let me paste this here. As you can see, we are importing Flask module, and we are defining this application. So we have this endpoint, which is the root endpoint, the slash, and when this endpoint is called, then it will return error word, error from Flask. Sorry, error from Flask. Okay, perfect. So yeah, and then we will run our application, start our application. So as you can see, it's a simple Flask application. So that's great. So let's now create our dependency file. So the file which will contain our dependence, our module. So this is requirements.txt, requirements.txt. Perfect. So let's now put our requirement. So there is this Flask module, and I will put the latest version. So 3.1.1, I guess. Yeah, I guess this is the latest. Yes, this is the latest one. So this is the version of this Flask module which will be installed actually while building our middleware image. So perfect. It's okay now for our middleware. So let's go and now define our database component. So we'll do the same. So we create the Docker file for our database. So the file needed actually to define to contain the instruction for building our image. So in this Docker file for our database, then I will put this information. So let's see the details. So we are using the PostgreSQL database, PostgreSQL database. So we are putting this image from Docker app. This will be our base image to build our database image. And then we'll set some environment variables like the user and password. and also which database will be used. And then finally, we copy this init.sql file, which contains actually some SQL commands actually to initialize our database. So this is the initialization script actually, which will create our database, create the user, a password, and then create the table needed, and so on and so forth. So now we have now our Docker file for creating our database image. So let's save this. And then after I have to create this script, this initialization script, which will be used to initialize our PostgreSQL database. So let's do this in init.sql. Okay, so as you can see, we create a table called my table, and then we define some fields for this table. So ID and a name. And also, yeah, and it's all actually. So this will create a table, a simple table in our database. Okay, perfect. So now we have, how can I say? So now we have, I think, everything needed for our components. So let's now check the current structure now of our application. So let me, okay. If I run the command 3, so as you can see, we have the database component, front-end component, middleware component, Docker file in every component, and some configuration file. Okay, this is perfect. So, guys, we are ready, but it remains only one file. So one file is remaining. So this file is the YAML file, which defines our entire application. So what we defined here are components, but we need to have one file, which by default it is called docker-compose YAML file, which will define our different components, the build folder, the folder which will be used actually to build the image, and also the services to run. So the services to run, so every component will run a service, and also the order of execution. So this means if you want to start your application, you have dependency components dependence. So like you will, for instance, choose to start first of all the database, and the front end will need to be able to start. We need, for instance, the middleware to be started, and the middleware to start, we need the database to be running. So you understand this dependency between components. So this means in this YAML file, Docker Compose, it's really where we define all components dependencies and the order of execution. Okay, perfect. So let's create this file. So this will be called, and as you can see, this file is on my directory, my app, inside my directory, my app, on the root, just on the root, as you can see. So I will create directly my Docker Compose file, Docker Compose, then YAML. Okay, perfect. And then inside, I will define this, and then I'll explain what it means. Okay, guys. So this is my Docker Compose YAML file, as you can see, and here are the services defined inside this. So I have my front-end service. So this is the build folder. So to build this image, it will go to this folder. As you know, this is where we defined the configuration for the front end. And then it will run, after build, then it will run this and expose the 8 port of the application to the 80 port of the node. And this is the dependency I was talking about. So this means to start front-end service, the middleware service needs to be started fast. And the same for middleware. So to start middleware, the database should be started fast. And database doesn't have any dependency, so it will start fast. So Docker Compose will manage this order. And as you can see, we have also other configuration. So we expose every service on our Docker host machine and to a specific port from the middleware, even for the database. So this is not, I think, this is not recommended for production environment, but for test purpose, you can do this. Okay, so guys, we also create a volume called Postgre data. Sorry, and this Postgre data is a volume which will be created by Docker Compose to store the data, the database data actually to an external storage. So if you are running a database as a container, you need to store this data so that if the database crashes, you can still retrieve your data stored in an external database. So we now use Docker volume. So we have seen this in our previous demo, how to work with to create volumes and make persistent external storage for our running containers. So guys, I think we have everything now. So what I can do is to save this, and we can now run our application stack. So let me once again run this command 3, and now I will show you all. So as you can see now, we have the complete structure of our multi container application. So let's now start this. So to start this, guys, so I can go back here simply. Can go back here, or I can go inside my app, no problem. And what I can do here is to run the command docker-compose. So what you're going to do is we're going to build, first of all, our image, our application images. So you have multiple images which will be built, and then also we will start our application. So let's first of all build. So now we build the image, and then we'll start also our containers. So let's do this. Let's run this command docker-compose app. So app is for running containers. So when you want to run all containers of an application, you just do docker-compose app. And what we do, we add this component, this flag called the build. So this means we're going to build the image, and after we are going to start containers. And what I want to add also is d minus d in detached mode. So I want the containers to be started, but to run in the background. So let's guys run our command. So let's wait. So it is building the image. As you can see, the front end part is being built. And also, yeah, and this, what I was talking about. So this is following the order defined actually in Docker Compose. So Docker Compose started building the database. And when this was finished, it then it's, yeah, so then the middleware part followed, as you can see. After this middleware part, there is now the front end, which is being which was built and started on the last time, as you can see. And as you can see down here, we have our three components. We have our database part, which was done, middleware part, which was done, and we have our front-end part, which was done. So our application was built and started. So let's now check if everything is okay. So to check with Docker Compose the running services, we run the command uh, docker compose ps. So perfect. Docker compose ps. As you can see, we can see we have database, front end, middleware, and they are app, guys. So our services are app. So every service is app, and those are the ports the application is using. So everything's okay now. And if you want, you can even check this with Docker, because Docker Compose will use actually Docker to start those containers. So if you do even Docker PS, you should find normally those running containers. As you can see, we have containers. And guys, those containers are running those images. So those images are the image we built actually with Docker Compose. So first of all, we built the image, and after we started the containers using those images. So as you can see, guys, everything's perfect. And I think the last part I can do is to show you the front end part. So as you can see, we have a front end. So let's see this in the browser to see if how can I say, to see if our front end is running, guys. So let me do this. So I will look for the IP. So I think I remember the IP for my S. The IP is this one. So let's run this. Okay, guys, perfect. So as you can see, we have our front end which is running. Let's work with Docker Compose. And this is our customized configuration. And this is not the default configuration of Nginx. So guys, this is perfect. As you can see, we have managed to build our multi-container application, and to start this with Docker Compose, and to check the running services using Docker Compose. And now, if you want to stop the running services, you can do it with also Docker Compose. Simply, you can do Docker Compose, and you put down Docker Compose down, and this will stop all running services. So this will take some time, guys, and you can see now. So the services are stopped, and this is done. And also to remove the network. So this is the Docker network, which is used actually by those containers. So it will also be deleted. And if we do Docker Compose PS, guys, you will see nothing now. Okay, nothing. So this means we have stopped our running application. So guys, I think everything was okay now in this demo. And I think you have enjoyed my video. So this is the last demo for this Docker series, and I hope you enjoyed. So don't forget to subscribe and to like, and also to comment, and just put in the description if you have enjoyed my video, and if you want why not more videos like this. So guys, thank you, and see you next time. Bye bye.